everybody, this is Perch. I've talked about this before, but it's worth bringing back up again now. There's a lot of new people listening to the channel, and we've gone through a bunch of the sales numbers. And there's this thing called, there's a bunch of different terms for it. I call it benchmarking. I call it benchmarking because most of my work and what I've done has come from the tech industry, so it makes sense in that context. I suspect if you came from the finance industry or other places, you'd have different terms for it. But it's basically about you work very hard to look through numbers and look through stats and look through periods of behavior that are normal, what we call in the comic industry. There's a lot talked about normies. What are normies interested in? And I think that in comics, there's not a good baseline. There's not a good benchmark for what is normal behavior. I would argue that we abandoned that quite some time ago. And I think in any time you get a market that gets tiny, anytime things shrink, the normie audience, the normal, the benchmark, it starts to evaporate. I think in general, in the U.S. anyway, and it's not so much in other countries, but definitely in the U.S., because people are so polarized, the entire question of what is normal is kind of thrown out the window. Anyway, I still maintain, this is not going to go on a political rant, I promise, but I still maintain that if you had a candidate come out for president who's like, hey, I am normal, and I have normal views on things. These are just very average. I think we should do this. I think, it's important, for example, to try and protect the environment, and we don't want to litter, and you don't want to throw junk out of your window, and we should be looking for cleaner energy sources. But at the same time, we don't want to completely tip over economy and destroy all of our current industries and do things that have questionable science. I mean, I think that if people who took a middle road, I think that person would be wildly popular. I think that person would win the vote easily. And I think that's why both parties work very hard to eliminate those people from any kind of contention, because they know that if there becomes a number of normal people, just middle of the road, centrist, normal people, that it will destroy their party standing. And I think it will take a lot of power away from them. That's my own crazy conspiracy theory. I'm sorry for taking you down that path. Back to comics. I think that we have to figure out what is normal in comics. I don't think we know. And I say that because if you look around, if you go to what the publishers are saying, I don't even think they've got a good handle on what they like. And I say that because of this evidence. They will market things like, this is the most popular comic of all time. And then 2 years heavy of that, they realize it's not working and they abruptly just abandon things. Look at how Marvel really pimped hard the J.J. Abrams and Son Spider-Man, and then just completely walked away from it. There was zero marketing done by the time you get to issue number 3. It was an experiment over, and they moved on. The same thing's true with a lot of their characters. I mean, it was just a couple years ago that we were hearing about the huge popularity of Kate Bishop and America Chavez and Squirrel Girl. Remember how popular those comics were, and Marvel couldn't stop talking about them. And today, none of those characters are being talked about. Now, they will come back a little bit when the MCU decides to do some stuff with Disney Plus, but they're moving on. There's like new exciting and shiny things to talk about. And there's no commitment. So they don't have a good baseline of what normal is. They're all over the place. You look at the X Office. You look at the way the creators are talking on Twitter. But if you want to vomit in your mouth a lot, go follow the primary writers. By the way, where's Jonathan Hickman? I'm completely convinced at this point that Hickman is dead. It's like Weekend at Bernie's, and they've just got him like in a lounger, and Teeny Howard and other people like moving his body around like a puppet, because like he's just gone. Like I don't know where this guy is. But meanwhile, you look at the antics of like Teeny and Leah and like it's insane. And what's weird is, there's stuff on Twitter that does very little to encourage you about the book. If you're already into the X universe, if you're already there, then fine. Maybe you enjoy this commentary and everything else. But the goal of comics is to bring in new readers. I've got I'm not sure actually when it will be up. Maybe it's already been up. The Walking Dead sales numbers, and you see a continual growth of people. You see the Walking Dead, the TV show gets popular. You see the comics go up. You see the comics benefit from all this stuff. The equivalency at Marvel would be, because this actually is what happened, is if the movies come out and things get kind of popular, and they decide, what would be a good idea? Let's take Iron Man and reveal that he's adopted, and that and do that. Let's go ahead during in game and have him like let's have a talking cat and just like do the exact opposite. You can see the success, by the way, the Walking Dead book embracing what it means, what the benchmark of normalcy and profiting off of it, versus Marvel doing the exact opposite. And then DC, I don't know, kind of the same. It's like DC is weird. It's like they kind of half-heartedly, like somewhere along the lines, like, hey, we got this Wonder Woman movie coming out. It's got Max Lord in it. Let's have Mariko Tamaki come in and do a Wonder Woman story with Max Lord, and kind of if you squint and maybe drink a little bit, it sort of vaguely resembles what's going on, I guess. It's like but then they also seem to get tired. Like a lot of these people remind me of like super super overweight people running around a track. Where I don't know if you've ever seen this. I try and keep fit, so I'll go out running. I live up here in the Pacific Northwest, so it's raining all the time. But when I can, I go out running. I go out hiking, and I'm in reasonably good shape. And it is, I go to the track and I'm like, I'm going to go, do a couple laps here. And I see these people who are like grossly overweight. I'm glad they're out there and they're exercising. That's great. But they've bought for themselves, this is very much a Seattle thing. They bought for themselves super expensive track clothing. Like they've gone to, it's always weird that like, I know this is going to sound terrible, but like the guys go to Lululemon and they get like men's yoga, exercise clothes, and you can tell it's brand new, it's expensive, and they're out there and they get onto the track and they're like making a big show of like I'm going to start running, and then they like take off, and they get like a quarter of the way around the track and they're winded and they're done, and then they are like they kind of limp around for one run around the track and they just kind of wander off. I don't know where they go. That that to me is what it feels like is going on with the comic publishers. It feels like they get out there and they're like they make a big show of like I'm going to just start sprinting right out the gate. And then they get tired really really quickly and they just kind of wander away. None of this stuff has any staying power. It, I'm filled with weird analogies today. Sorry about that. It's been a long day, but it's just weird to me that you've got to find normalcy. You have to figure out what is normal, and normal often, in many cases, gives you answers you do not want. This is bluntly, this is one of my frustrations with, comics Twitter with fans, because there's truths that people just want to avoid. And so here's one of them, like I've said, I mentioned before, Moon Girl. Moon Girl is an interesting experiment from Marvel. The comic, the floppy, in the direct market, in the comic shop, sold terribly. However, unlike other experiments, like Squirrel Girl, for example, Moon Girl actually did do very well in trades, like very, very well. It was selling, at one point, Saga-level trades through places that were not the direct market. Now, if you're now absorb this fact for a moment, because it is a fact, it's a fact of numbers, it's a data fact. Here's why none of what I said should be surprising to you. Just think it through. Moon Girl is a comic with a kid that is smart and can invent anything and goes on adventures and has a giant dinosaur, and sometimes the dinosaur's mind swaps with Moon Girl, and she kind of turns into this feral, crazy, out of control kid. Who's this going to appeal to? That's right. It's going to appeal to kids like 6 to 10, 6 to 12. They're going to like that. I mean, come on. Smart kid can invent anything. Every now and then goes crazy, has a dinosaur pet. That is like that. If you're doing like a Mad Libs of popular things to push on kids, that you've just done it. That it is completely going to work for that audience. Now, where does it not work? Well, it does not work with 30 and 40-year-old men who are buying X-Men or Batman. That crossover audience doesn't work at all. And so, I don't think that anyone needs a business degree or having worked in the shop. If you just sit down for yourself and I present to you like, hey, here's a book. It's got a kid, very smart, invents stuff, goes crazy every now and then, has a dinosaur pet. Where do you sell this book? 99 people out of 100 are going to go, well, you sell it in schools. You should sell it, Scholastic, be a good avenue for that. Maybe bookstores in the kids section, sure. And if I said, what if we put it on a comic? What if we put it in a comic shop and we put it on the shelf next to Iron Man and Batman? You would go, yeah, that's a dumb idea. Don't do that. That won't sell. And surprise, surprise, the numbers reflect that. So what do we take from all this data? Moon Girl was a smart thing for Marvel to do. They definitely, by the numbers, made a profit off that book. Absolutely. There's zero doubt about it. However, what was a dumb thing to do with Moon Girl? Well, send it to comic shops is one. Put Moon Girl in comics like the Avengers, where that character makes no sense in that comic. That that again, who's surprised by this? Hopefully nobody. But it does it's weird to see people resist on both ends. So on one hand, it's very puzzling to me that you go on comics Twitter and you see a bunch of people wanting to defend the idea of Moon Girl being a great creation, perfect for comic shops, it's appealing to a new audience and everything else, without recognizing the incredibly obvious, which is that comic won't sell well in a comic shop. Don't put it there. And don't take that character and put that character in things that they don't belong in. Don't have Moon Girl team up with Punisher. That may be LOL so funny to your rando friends on Slack or in your mutant Zoom meetings that you're having, but that doesn't make any sense for the audience. Don't do it. You've forgotten what normal looks like when you do that. And also, it is annoying to hear comic fans who say, I hate Marvel, I hate their stupid stuff. Why would they publish a book like Moon Girl? Nobody wants that. Of course somebody wants that. Kids. Kids would want that. And kids want it in places where kids buy books. When you go into a comic store, you don't see a bunch of 7 and 8-year-olds just wandering around buying Punisher or Batman. You don't that may be Batman, but you don't see this stuff. You don't see the 7 or 8-year-olds in a comic shop unattended anyway. That's just not where they are. So it is important you take any topic and you try and figure out what is normal. What is the normal path here? It is a good idea, and I've maintained this, and damn it, I've had so many people disagree and want to fight about it. It is a good idea to publish books that appeal to kids and do not appeal to adults. It is a good idea because those kids will grow up and they will start reading Punisher. I don't know why I'm going all the way to Punisher. They will start reading Swamp Thing. They will start reading Doom Patrol. They'll read all kinds of things. But they have to start somewhere. And it's more likely, if you can get the kids reading comics at a young age, that they will grow up and read something more advanced. Because that's what we all do as human beings. That's normal. That's normie behavior. It is not normal to want to interject. I mean, I just question, do any of these people understand human behavior, both on the comic side or the fan customer side? Comic professional side, it's definitely more damning because it is your job to appeal to people who are going to buy things that you make. That is fundamentally the reason you have a job and your position exists, is to do this thing. So if you suck at that job, you're going to lose it. But it's all, I mean, but it is annoying, not as catastrophic, annoying for fans and customers to also want to to say things like this because it makes no sense. I had to smile a little bit because I did the Mr. Miracle video about Shiloh. And I said in this video, they're doing the Shiloh series. I know I'm seeing some people angry about this, that they're saying, oh, here we go. We race swapped another character. We just took another white guy off the board with this brand new race character. And it's like, yeah, Shiloh's been around since the 70s and was invented by Jack Kirby. Like, you need to take your beef up with Kirby. That's that's where you're at. Like, don't come around here with you sound stupid. Now, again, if you come in and say, hey, this, the pitch, like I pointed out, like we're going to redo his origin and say what it means to be a mistrusted black superhero. Yeah, that stuff sounds dumb. I'm with you. That's not a good idea. But you can't just ignore facts. But anyway, it's funny because I'm doing this video talking about how silly it is that people are up in arms about this brand new race swap character, and this character has existed for a long time. And sure enough, there's so many people come into the comments like, here we go, and it's like, you did not listen to the video, sir. I'm calling you out. You clearly did not listen. Pat, you didn't listen 60 seconds into the video. I saw the thumbnail and you got pissed. I don't know why that bugs me, but it bugs me and I laugh at the same time because it's like, oh my God, it's fulfilling the prophecy of the video right there. This is not normie behavior. Normie behavior is trying to learn things and see the world as it is, not invent the world into whatever you would like it to be. That's not normal behavior. That's psychotic behavior. Anyway, anyway, I go back to I think everybody, but certainly comic publishers, comic retailers, people who have a money stake in this thing. You got to figure out what normal is. You got to figure out what the baseline of things is. You got to have a good grasp on that. And then what you do is you appeal to normal and you push the boundaries to see if you can grow your audience. That's how you market products. What you don't do is say, I don't like normal, so I'm going to rewrite in my own headcanon what normal is. And I'm going to appeal to that. And then I'm going to throw rocks at everybody who dares to say it's not normal. Reading a book like X Factor is, again, there's people who may like that book. Good for you. That's great. That book does not appeal to any kind of normie mainstream audience. It does not. Now, if it happens to appeal to you, here's what you should do. You should enjoy every second that you're getting that book. You should be really, really happy that you're getting this weird, quirky, strange title, and just be glad, because it's not going to last long. This book is headed for ultimately cancellation. Why? Because it's not touching the mainstream. I mean, and there's I'm sorry if that's your favorite book. Sucks. Like I've said before, I like David Lynch. I wish he was still doing movies. I wish they were hiring him to do more films, but they're not. There's lots of shows out there I enjoy. They get canceled. I like Pushing Daisies. Anybody see that show? I've heard that show is people have made comments that that's a big woke show. I don't know, it's just quirky and fun. I liked it. It fit for me. Not one of my favorite shows of all time, but I enjoyed it. It is what it is. But if you can't appeal enough to the normies, if you don't understand what normies are, then it's not going to last. And I think if you hate it, there's no sense throwing rocks at it. I think the marketplace will do that for you eventually. And if you love it, be glad. You're getting a rare gift. You're getting something that is largely unsellable that somebody greenlit for mysterious reasons, and enjoy every second you get of it, because you won't get much. Just is what it is. But I think people will be happier if you understand basic logic in things. Then you'll understand choices. You'll understand why people do what they do, and it makes more sense. Moon Girl kept being made because it sold well. That's why. The bigger mystery, quite frankly, is why Moon Girl is not still being produced. Not as a floppy. It makes no freaking sense for that to be done as a monthly comic going to the direct market. But clearly, Moon Girl was selling fairly well as a graphic novel going to kids. So you would expect that every 3 to 4 months there would be an OGN for Moon Girl. That would be smart business. The weird part is that they're not doing that. And I wonder, frankly, if the fact that they were pushing this through the direct market, that eventually like, we're getting great sales over here for graphic novels, but we can't seem to crack the direct market, so we better stop. Which would be, I mean, really, really stupid. That feels like what they did. I don't know. It's a weird world. I can't explain it. Anyway, hey, there you go. What do you think of all this? What is the new normal? Let's find it together, shall we? It will be fun. We'll all pretend to be normal. Be great. Life's wonderful. Anyway, like, subscribe, description of the video, blah, 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 blah. Thank you for listening.